Full and pleasant good morning to all my dear students. I hope you all are ready for your English class. Today we will do chapter 11, Throwing Away a Tree, which is a poem written by Thomas Hardy. Before starting the class, I would like to make an announcement that this is the last chapter. After that, your syllabus has been completed for the month of July and August. And next month, you are having your exams, and your exams will be of 40 marks. And it is divided into two parts: 30 marks subjective test and 10 marks objective. Objective, you all know the way you attempted the test through Google Forms. Objective test will be of 10 marks. There you will get 20 questions and each question is of half marks. And subjective test will be of 30 marks. Soon I will be sending you the revision schedule where we will do the revision of the chapters that will come in your September exam, and after that I will be taking your subjective test so that you may know the format, the way you have to attempt your subjective test. We will be sending you the question paper through in the form of PDF file. You have to attempt your test on a paper within a given time limit, and after that you have to click the photo of that test, convert that test into PDF file, and you have to send the same test in the given mail ID. So I hope my instructions and message for the September exam is very much clear to you. And it's time for the revision after this chapter, so be serious for your studies now. So be ready with your English literature book and open page number 70. Throwing Away a Tree. The title of the poem is Throwing Away a Tree. That means the tree has been thrown away. And we throw something that we don't want in our life, right? But the tree provides us so many things. Without trees, our life is impossible. Trees provide us fresh oxygen for our survival. And in the same way, on the other hand, we are cutting those trees. We are throwing them out of our life. That means we are reducing our oxygen supply that we are getting from trees. So, let's see what the poem says about trees. This poem was written by Thomas Hardy. He was a nature lover. He cares for nature, and out of his concern for nature, he wrote this poem. It took 200 years for a tree to grow, and its life ended in 2 hours. So let's find out the way it came to an end. The two Throwing away a tree. The two executioners stalk along over the knolls, bearing two axes with heavy heads, shining and white. Now here the poet used the word executioners instead of woodcutters. Why? Because executioner is a person who has assigned the duty to kill a person who got the death punishment from the court. And same here, executioners, or you can say woodcutters, they are cutting the tree. And cutting a tree means exactly similar to killing somebody. So that's why the poet, instead of woodcutters, used executioners. The two executioners, they walk along the small hills. Knoll means small hills, and stalk means to walk smoothly. So the two executioners, they walk smoothly towards the small hills bearing to X. Bearing to axis. X is a tool which is used for cutting the trees. So they are bearing to axis and their heads are shining and broad, meant for the purpose of cutting the trees. And a long limb, two-handled saw, tooth for cutting great boles. Bole is a tree trunk here. Bole means tree trunk here. So they bear two axes. The two executioner, those who move towards the small hills, they bear two axes as well as two-handled saw for cutting the great trunk. As the stem of the tree is thick, that is called as trunk here. Okay, so the two executioners, they bear two axes, and along with that they bear two handled saw. Saw is a zigzag tool used for cutting the trees. So they bear two handled saw for cutting the great tree trunks. And so they approach the proud tree that bears the death mark on its side. With the axe and the saw, they move towards the proud tree, as the tree was very proud that it took 200 years for a tree to grow. And here it was standing in a proud position that it is the greenery. It forms the nature. It provides fresh oxygen to the environment. But as soon as the two executioners they approach towards the proud tree that already bears the death mark on its side, that this tree contains a death mark that this tree is about to cut. Clear? I repeat first stanza again, that the two executioners they move over the small hills, they walk over the small hills bearing two axes, that their heads are shining and broad, as well as two handled saw for cutting the great trunk tree. And they approach towards the proud tree that contains a death mark on its side. So I hope first stanza is clear to all. Continue next stanza. Jackets doffed, they swing axes and chop away just above ground, and the chips fly about and lie while on the moss and the fallen leaves. Now, what happened? They were wearing a jackets. They removed. Doffed means taken off and thrown aside. So the two executioners, they were wearing the jackets. They removed. They take off their jackets and they swing their axes and started chopping the tree just above the ground. They left the small portion from the ground, and from there they started chopping the tree, and the chips fly about. Chips here is the small pieces of the bark. When they chop the tree, small pieces of the bark, or you can say small pieces of the trunk that bears the bark, right? They fly with, you can imagine with what force they are chopping the tree, that their small pieces they fly and they fall on the fallen leaves, the leaves that were scattered on the ground, that barks were flying and falling on the leaves that was on the ground, fallen leaves. Till a broad deep gash in the bark is hewn all the way round, and one of them tries to hook upward a rope, which at last he achieves. As I told you in the beginning of this stanza, that the two executioners, they removed their jacket and they started chopping the tree just above the ground, and their small pieces of the bark, they fly, and you can imagine with what force they are chopping the tree, that they are falling on the fallen leaves. And they were chopping till a broad, deep gash in the bark. Gash is a deep cut. They chopped till they get a deep cut in the bark, is chopped all the way round. Hewn means cut, or you can say chopped. So they chopped the tree, they continue to cut the tree till they get a deep cut on the bark. Till they get a deep cut in the bark, which is cut all around. And one of the executioner tried to tie a rope, tries to tie a rope on the other hand of the tree, on the upper part of the tree, and at last he achieves that what he was trying to do. I repeat this stanza. Jackets removed by the two executioners, they started chopping the tree just above the ground, and the pieces of the bark fly and fall on the fallen leaves. They chopped until they get a deep cut in the bark of the tree, and one of the executioner tried to hook a rope upward so that they try to pull the tree downwards. The saw then begins till the top of the tall giant shivers. The shivers are seen to grow greater with each cut than before. They edge out the saw, tug the rope, but the tree only quivers.